Okay, now we're going to talk about how to do this side seam fireworks. These are a little bit tricky, but nothing that you can't handle for sure. So to start with, what I want you to do is to pull out about 3 arm lengths of your contrast color yarn. You're going to use, or do that twice, because you're going to use one on each side. So you'll have 2 separate strands of your contrast color attached, kind of similar to Intarsia method. We're doing kind of an Intarsia / stranded hybrid here. And the reason that I want you to just cut 3 strands worth is it makes it a lot easier to pull that strand clear and keep it from tangling with your main color than if you had 2 balls attached or even 2 bobbins attached. So here I have made my first firework, and I am a couple rows past it, and I have my contrast color. I pulled out a strand here. There's my, and cut it. So it's a loose strand, but this makes it nice because when I twist it with my main color, which I'm going to be doing a lot of, I can just pull that strand clear and then detangle it from the main color. And so that's what we're looking at doing right now. So let's pretend this is our first side seam firework right here. And what we need to do is get it moved in position to make the next firework, which is going to actually be centered where this stitch is in this area. So what I want to do is twist it around this stitch as I'm doing one of my slip rows. And so I'm going to bring my contrast color up on the back side. I'm going to twist it over my main color like that. I'm just going to kind of hang on to it there for a second while I get this stitch finished and finish this stitch. And there we have it. It's tacked up on the wrong side right here, and it's going to be just perfectly placed to make my second batch of fireworks in a few more rows. If you feel like you need to bring it up again and tack it in another, we do have I think we have 3 more rounds before we make the next firework. That's absolutely okay. It's kind of your personal choice. And it depends on how well you think you can keep your float back here where you bring it up tensioned. We don't want to pull too tight because then it'll reduce the slack we have in our fireworks strands themselves. So let me knit the next few rounds and we'll get ready to do the second row of fireworks. Okay, we are ready to make the second level of fireworks on our side seam. And so I'm right here 1 stitch before. I'm going to do that here. And now I'm going to go in to my stitch. And there's my yarn right here where I left it tacked. So nice and close and waiting. I'm going to make my firework and come out. There's 1 firework. Get that up on the needle, knit our center stitch here. We're going to make 1 more firework here. Go in and back in for the second firework. All right, so now here's our yarn coming out of our second firework right here. And we know that when it comes time to do the next round of fireworks in 6 rounds, we're going to be starting more over here where this firework is going to end. So what we want to do is every 2 rounds, we have 6 total rounds till the next firework. Every 2 rounds, we're going to take this yarn here and we're going to catch it by twisting it with the main color a few stitches to the right. So we'll catch it here in 2 rounds, about here in 2 more rounds, and about here in the round right before our firework, and that'll make it right in place for where we need it for the 3rd tier of fireworks. So let me knit up to that point and we'll do that. Okay, I'm coming up on my second round after the fireworks, so I need to catch my working yarn, this one right here, somewhere about in the middle or by the second leg in from the left. So we're going to knit to there. We'll slip, knit, slip, and let's catch it here with this one. So I'm going to put my needle in. I'm going to pull my contrast yarn and wrap it around that main color back here and catch it in the middle here. And now slip, knit, slip. And this is where you want to take a pause really quick, move a couple stitches past, pause, and make sure where you caught the yarn back here that you left enough slack right here in this little strand that you haven't made the left leg of your firework too tight. So this is the most important one out of all of the 3 catches you're going to do to move the yarn back to the right, because this is the one that will anchor the left leg of your firework and the slack that is in it. So if you pull this too tight back here, this strand where you've brought it up, if you pull that too tight, you make a really short little left leg and that distorts your firework. The next ones aren't so important because you've anchored it once and now you're going to anchor it from that anchor, and so they're not nearly as important in terms of what the fireworks look like on the front. All right, so now we're going to speed up real quick and get around to where we are ready to work our 3rd tier of fireworks. All right, we are here ready to work our 3rd tier of side seam fireworks. I realized in the demo from going from here to here, I actually left a row out. They shouldn't be so squished on top of each other, but rather with one plain row in between. I got a little ahead of myself, but it's correct here for this one. And as you can see, my yarn is over here all the way to the right because I worked it slowly and evenly back by twisting it as I worked all of the rounds between the firework round and then all of these slipping rounds. So my yarn is over here and ready to go. So I'm gonna make one more stitch here, and then my firework will be right here. And I'll do my double wrap and knit and double wrap again. And now, because we have such a long stretch before we make our next firework, which is over here, I want to make sure that I'm going to catch my float of my contrast color yarn in the middle, because then we make sure we really anchor all of the extra slack we're giving to the left leg of this firework and the extra slack we're going to give to the right leg of this firework. So I'm going to come on here, bring my yarn up, wrap, bring the yarn back down, and there I've caught that in the middle right back here, anchoring it for the firework that's going to happen here, because I don't want the float in the back to be able to steal slack out of the double wraps I'm making for my firework. All right, let's move a couple stitches past here, and then we're going to stop and take a peek. We have 2 fireworks, one right here, one right here. If we look at the back side, here is our working yarn coming out on the very left from our firework. And now as we work our 6 rounds before our last tier, our 4th tier of fireworks, every couple of rounds, we're going to take our contrast color and we're going to twist it with a stitch a few stitches to the right. So we're just going to slowly move it over here so that it's waiting on the back side about in this area when we're ready to start our final tier of fireworks. And then during that final tier of fireworks, because they are so stretched far apart, you want to make sure you catch your flow in between somewhere to make sure that you anchor all of the slack that you're giving with these double wraps. And then the nice thing after that big wide 4th tier is once you've made the firework, you don't use your contrast color again, so there's no need for it to continue to moving back. That is the last tier that you use it. And that's how to do the side seam fireworks.